We are live.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
telling you, I think I'm only a couple seconds behind you.
Yeah.
But yes, we are live and welcome everybody to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. I
Hi,
am
everyone.
Greta Russo, and this is our star of the day, Dr. Bryant.
Hi,
Dr.
everyone.
Bryant, why don't you tell everyone about yourself?
Hi there, everyone. Thanks for listening in today. I'm Dr. Nelva Bryant. I'm a veterinarian, and I'm working in the airline industry. I'm working with Delta Airlines as their on-staff consulting veterinarian, and it's where I help review and revise policies for animal transportation. And we're not just talking about pets; we're talking about all animals that are basically shipped by cargo. So I've been in that role for quite some time now. And I enjoy every minute of it. But during that role, I've noticed some things for pets and also for other animal shipments that can be done to improve and ensure the safety of the animals during transport. So I developed When Pets Fly as a way to share education basically with pet owners or other stakeholders in this whole process. And we've been doing these Facebook Lives now for over 2 years, right, Greta?
Yeah.
And initially we started thinking that it was going to be just pet travel education, but as it expanded to different sectors, basically, like I said, different stakeholders in the animal transportation process. We may talk about shipping service dogs or the issues regarding service dogs being transported by air, or we might talk about folks that are in that have shipping companies. We have brought on Rochelle Rogers quite often. She talks about zoo animal transportation. So it has grown. So that's what I do. That's what I'm passionate about is animal transportation. And please forgive me, guys. I'm just getting over COVID. I'm still congested. I'm hoping I can get through this without coughing, but I'm a little congested today. I can hear it in my voice. But that's what I'm about. That's what I'm passionate about as far as animal transportation. And that's what we've been doing these past 2 years now. And Greta, introduce yourself more because you are a strong part of what I do and what we do with When Pets Fly.
Absolutely. So my name is Greta Russo, and I'm Dr. Brian's right-hand man or woman. And we have been on this journey to educate and provide resources to everyone that has a touch point in animal transportation. Initially I thought we were just going to go down the pet path and have pet parents and giving them tips for a healthier, safer pet trip. But it really, the more we started getting into this, so much has blossomed in front of us. So I love the journey that we're on. And you know what, it's the great thing about it is we all can learn more, and finding out where the resources are is half the battle. So that's what I love about this.
Definitely. But we haven't had a Facebook Live in quite a bit, seems like, for March. I'm trying to think. The last one was David with Verify Pets. Did I say that right? Vet Verify, which was actually very good because it's a system where you think about it, you take your pet to a grooming facility and they want to know your vaccination history on your pet. And this is a way to validate it where they can actually validate that information and send it over to that grooming facility. So he has a very good system, I think, in place. And it's going to be useful for a lot of areas of the pet industry and everything to be able to share that valuable information with regarding your pets. Because depending on where they go, they need to be vaccinated and it needs to be current and up to date. And the old way of calling the veterinarian to confirm or requiring documentation, he's developed a way to streamline that whole process.
Absolutely. It takes the headache out of the process for the pet parent, number one, and also the veterinarian who has a busy office and now they got to stop for 15 minutes to pull somebody's records and, fax that off to either a new apartment building or if you are a groomer that's requesting it, or if you are traveling out of state and another doctor or hospital needs it. So it just makes things more efficient for everyone and is a great service to provide a nice concierge service, if you want to think of it that way.
Oh, yeah.
And especially for daycares and, anywhere your pet needs to go, everyone wants to make sure that you're protected, number two. So, yes, and we spoke to David from Vet Verify on March the 8th. So it just seemed like it was so far away. But now that we're on the last Friday in March, yeah, it does seem like a long time.
Yes. Excuse me, guys.
Yes, absolutely. But today we are bringing on Gretchen Bickert. So just like Rochelle, and she just happens to be a recommendation from Rochelle Watkins Rogers. She works in the zoo transportation industry. So everyone loves when Rochelle comes on here. And so it'll be great to hear from another person with a different topic that she wants to discuss about zoo animal transportation. So that'll be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Very, very good. And I think I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if Gretchen was at the USDA symposium, transportation symposium. I believe she gave a oral presentation, if I'm correct. She wasn't there. I didn't meet her in person. So this is a great opportunity because I've heard a lot about her through Rochelle, about Gretchen and everything. And I know she's interested in, like I said, in zoo animal transportation, but also she is working with, as far as music or sound therapy, to help relax the animals for animal transportation too. And I'm definitely interested to see what they do for zoo animals in reference to that. So very excited to just learn more about what she's doing. Definitely.
Absolutely. Now, with zoo animal transportation, from the conversations with Rochelle, there was so many similarities, especially with preparation between pet parents and zoo workers, and the travel process between pets and zoo animals. So that to me, I thought there would be vast differences, but they were practically the same procedure for both. So I thought that was fascinating, and a lot of people made comments on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, animals are animals, you could say. I guess the difference is, the main difference is you can't go and pet your tiger over there and think everything is perfect, everything like that. The bond, the human-animal bond is not the same, will not be there, of course, with zoo animals. But the whole process itself, getting the animal, making sure they're healthy and fit for travel, making sure they're in a shipping container that complies with IATA LER. And then also making sure they're acclimated to confinement in that container. And I think Rochelle was saying that was an elephant shipment that she had been a part of years ago, that it took over a year for them to get the elephant acclimated to being confined in that crate. So be very interesting, like I said, to hear more. And like I said, she's in Gretchen is also incorporating sound. So let's see what that's going to do, how that's benefiting animals.
Maybe that'll be a new area for Derek and his company.
And again, we definitely need to introduce Gretchen to Derek Garrett of Zounds Music for Pets, because has developed scientifically based music for, say, dogs or cats to assist with anxiety and relieving anxiety. And helping them during travel or just in environments where they're confined. So I think that'd be a great introduction for them too. They need to meet each other.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. Let's get ready to bring Gretchen on to here so that we can begin the conversation. Let's see. I gotta get rid of your banner. My computer is having difficulties with me today.
Yeah,
I think Friday likes to go home early. So I think that's what the problem is.
That's what it is. It's early. It's Friday. It's Friday.
I got an email from my computer that it wants a 4-day week. So we're still talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Let's bring Gretchen on and see.
Hey,
see her. Oh, you see her?
Yes, I do. She's right there.
Oh,
you see her?
I got a blank screen. There she is with mine.
Awesome. Thanks,
Hi,
Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for having me on, Dr. Bryant
Definitely.
and Greta and Rochelle. Yeah, good friend and colleague of mine for many years. So we've done a lot of work together as far as transport. And when I started the AZA transport course, she came on as the registrar expert, and then she took over as course administrator, and she's just been always a champion for the improving of animal welfare, which is like my whole thing, right? It's like, let's have animals transport safely. And my interest, that's my dog, my interest in sound and transport, it started when we were working with some aluminum crates and actually getting inside of them and really checking, like, are there any bolts or sharp edges? And then I'm inside of there, I'm like, dang, this is loud. And it was like a sound chamber. And, you know, I know how loud it is at the airport, and you know how loud it is at the airport. I amplify that into the crate. And, you know, you're talking about dogs and cats and similarities with them and exotics, and it is the same. And it's actually, you know, it's easier with dogs and cats because what I'm going to talk to today about some acclimation, you can actually get your hands on them, right? With you know, a tiger and a lion, you can't drive them over to the airport and hang out. So you have to kind of figure out creative ways, and that's sort of been my next mission is how do we use sound? I work for the Sound Healing Academy in London, so I'm very interested in using sound as a transformative vehicle for transforming humans and people as well as animals. I'm also very big into Apple. It's my dog Apple. Very big into noise and how it affects us in a negative way. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, slow down 1 minute because we didn't even introduce you yet. You just going.
Okay, let's do it. I was just like,
slow down. Slow down. We love it. We're happy you're here. Again, I've heard a lot of great things from Rochelle about you. I don't think we ever really met, but I was a part of the AZA transportation course. That's how I met Rochelle as well. So, been working with them regarding that and having a great time and everything. But either way, I think this is going to be a great show. Let's slow down. Let's let Greta do her thing, get our introduction going, and we'll get started.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
So Gretchen spent over 22 years in the zoo field, working at several zoos, including the Potter Park Zoo, the Columbus Zoo, and the Phoenix Zoo, serving in the role as registrar. Her job oversight also included coordinating the logistics of their transportation. She took a special interest in the refinement of operating procedures regarding animal shipments worldwide and ways that animal welfare could be improved. Out of this came a transport workshop at the 2012 AZA conference, followed by the collaborative creation of the AZA Animal Transport for Animal Care Professionals course. This course provides education and training to improve animal welfare as well as streamline the entire shipping process. This course not only teaches best practices in transport of animals, but also encourages the development of positive work relationships with wildlife agents, shipping providers, and others who have a stake in animal transportation. During her years at the zoo, she also began to study the effects of sound on humans and animals. She now consults with the Sound Healing Academy in London as the online training division manager, uses sound in a myriad of ways for transformation, and continues to research creative solutions using sound or the elimination of it to improve the welfare of animals, including transport. This discussion will focus on ways to decrease stress when transporting your animals. Specific focus on noise desensitization and counter conditioning, specifically for pet travel. We will also talk about how noise affects animals during transportation. Everyone, please help us welcome Gretchen Bickert.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. glad to have you, Gretchen. This is going to be a very interesting conversation because you touched on something that, I mean, it's not many people are doing that as far as researching sound, music therapy, or all those things, and especially with the sector that you're in. Again, we talked about Garrett from Zounds Music for Pets. He does a lot of things for dogs and cats, but no one has touched upon it in the zoo animal species. So that's awesome.
Yeah, super excited. It's a really good point. When I was looking for research, and there isn't a lot of research that's currently being done. There's a lot with livestock and how transfers in trailers, how that affects them, with pigs, even with 80 to 90 decibels, which is loud, but it's not like, extreme. Their heart rate goes up. They've experimented with calves in transport simulators and shown that their epinephrine and cortisol gets raised. It's clearly a stressful situation for them. And so when I started thinking about this, especially from a zoological standpoint and not being able to take them to the airport, the next best thing is, to me, acclimating through playing sounds to get them used to, what's going on, because they are super sensitive. And so when we talk about exotics, there's a number of things that we want to focus on when we're transporting. And I know that, Rochelle's been on probably a number of times talking about crating and acclimation, but people don't always think about like the metal lock that's hanging on the crate and that constant clang, 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 clang that's happening when the animals are being transported. And that constant pattern can actually be really stressful. In fact, that's what they've studied, is what bothers an animal, like what is going to happen. And it's usually the loudness, like decibels, or the frequency, the hertz, the pitch, or like patterns, as well as like vibrations. So those can all be really stressful for an animal. And it also depends on the species, because as we know, all animals have different ranges of hearing. Some animals are like, yeah, I can't hear that. But you get like, if we're putting an elephant on an airplane, and wow, see that. The low levels, I'm sure they're probably tuned into that, as opposed to other animals that are like, that's a little bit high, right? So we also have to be aware of the different hearing ranges and sensitivity. But we do know that animals in themselves have all of their senses appear to be more sensitive. And therefore, right, exactly. So therefore would be more bothersome. So, what do we do? What can we do? Like I said, for me, it was thinking about from exotics, how do we load? How do we transfer? How do we have a container that has sound in mind, has noise in mind, and right. That, like when I crawled into the crate, loose bolts, even in your trailer, are there loose things? We're flying by air. We want to make sure that our crates don't have, big metal locks hanging, because we want to lower the stress in transport. We want to keep our animals in calm places during layovers. And that's the other thing, is where is your animal going to be stopping over during their transport? And will they remain in a quiet place, which is very important. I've traveled with a bear and a lion, flew with them on FedEx, was fortunate enough, and got a direct experience of the volume that animals are exposed to, as well as during the transport and the holdover in the cargo bay. And I do know that there are some airports paying attention now in their redesign to the amount of sound that animals will be exposed to during these waiting periods. So, that's super positive. So really the best thing to do when we're transporting, whether it's an exotic or in a dog or in a cat, is preparing ahead of time. That preparation goes miles. And when we talk about like dogs and cats, and that's really what I've been doing a lot of experimentation on right now is with my dog and my cat to see, okay, let's use sound to desensitize. So that's my goal right now is to see, I'm going to be flying with my cat in a couple of months. He is very sensitive to not only sounds, but to people's voices, right? So if you guys have cats, I don't know if you notice, they cue in to your voice. If somebody shows up at the door and starts to talk and they're like, whoa, I've not heard that before, he's out. He's out. But somebody could come to the porch, he doesn't even see them and say, hey, it's Joanne or whatever. And he knows them. He's like, I'm good. So he recognizes even the sound of somebody's voice, that vibration. So he's super sensitive. So he's my next guinea pig, even though he's a cat. So don't tell me.
Well, the interesting thing is, and it's good that you're working on this and bringing suggestions, because really there's nothing that's out there to prepare them. There's no simulation that you could take your pet to get them ready for air travel by cargo or air travel experience, period. I usually tell folks if they're going to get them accustomed to being, of course, being confined or in their crate, number one, and then maybe start taking them places.
Well, I'm glad you said that.
Huh?
That's what I've done. I did that with my dog Apple. So it's so funny. I had sent Rochelle a picture of my living room, which consists of like, my furniture and whatnot, but two transport crates right in my living room, because Apple had never flown and she is a recovering separation anxiety dog.
Okay.
So I was really like, okay, I had anxiety to fly her, because her being contained was not a comfortable situation, and in strange places was not a comfortable situation. And she needed to go in a shuttle to the airport, get out, be around the chaos, the noise. So we made numerous trips to the airport. Once she got used to her carrier, we started going to the airport and we would hang out, we'd walk around, we'd go up and down the road where it's loud and there's cars, and she's inside of her crate like, what on earth? And but we did it, we also, here's the other important thing, we'll talk a little bit about how to introduce sounds, but whatever you're doing for crate acclimation with a dog, cat, whatever animal, and a zoo animal, also very important, you got to go slow. And you have to stay below their threshold, right? Their threshold of panic. Because if you push and the animal gets panicked, they're going to be like, I'm out. And you're going to have a super hard time doing this acclimation at all, because you've now just reinforced that sounds in life are scary. Right. So,
Gretchen, I know of situations and I've seen crates of dogs where they panicked and they ripped out of that crate. I mean, and I saw a photograph of one crate where this was an IATA compliant crate, and this dog chewed his way out, because I bet you it was never acclimated to being confined. And as you were saying, got pushed to his limit. It was pushed to the limit, and it's like, I'm getting out of here at all costs.
Yep.
And that's what happens. So folks need to understand that whole period of getting a compliant crate and getting them acclimated in the process. It's not overnight. I mean, how long did it take you for Apple?
Yeah, we had months. We did it over a period of months.
Yeah.
Her separation anxiety training just for me to be able to like leave the house for, 2 minutes. That's a 6-month period. Now I can leave for a few hours. I come home and she's like, oh, are you here? Is that you? People are like, she doesn't greet you. And I said, no. And you know what? I am so happy about that.
Good. Yeah.
But it took a really long time and, a lot of patience. But, you bring up this panic to get out of the crate. What people, I feel, and you'll get this, they look at their animal and they're like, yeah, they're so chill, man. You know, and even exotics, you know, keepers are like, oh, they'll be fine. They're like so chill. But you put any animal in a situation where they're afraid, where they're fearful, and they panic, now we're dealing with something completely different, probably something you've never seen in your life. And that's what happens. And it just like breaks my heart as well, because what the animal's feeling, you know, if you've ever had a panic attack or been afraid in your life, feel that and then amplify it. You know, we also, from a welfare standpoint, we don't want our animals to even have to experience any of that. So doing this acclimation, you're helping them actually feel more comfortable. And from a welfare standpoint, I'm like, this is a must. It's not a, it makes things easier. This is an actual requirement that I think everybody really needs to do, is acclimate their animals.
Right.
So yeah, so this,
why don't people just change the cages? Why do they have to be metal? Because metal makes so much noise, and even if the wind blows on it, and that in itself is a scary situation. And then once, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people deal with large animals and zoo animals and bang on the cage to get the animal's attention. Well, that would make, that automatically makes the animal go into fight or flight scenario.
Yeah.
So why does it have to be metal? Why?
So
I mean,
that's a great question, Greta. And for certain zoo animals, you have to have metal because of their strength. So, imagine their claws and their ability to like tear, so there are some animals like in the LAR, the live animal regulations, they could actually go in a wooden crate, but it would have to be lined with sheet metal, like, an anteater. Some of these large ZooPro crates, from a weight standpoint, you're actually going to have less weight than you would if you had a very large wooden crate, and weight makes a difference when you're shipping as well. But from a containment perspective, metal's the way to go, right?
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't even say wood. Why can't it be like not a plastic, but there's a thick type of plastic, like the thing that's popping in my mind is my Martha Stewart cutting board, and that thick plastic that I can't even bend it. Why can't it be that?
I've actually seen an animal crate with that, but that stuff's like super heavy. Have you ever like been to the park where they have recycled park benches, and you like try and like let's move this park bench? No, let's not move this park bench. It's like it's really dense. That material is super dense, so it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think that's we sat around and tried to brainstorm, like what could we put like in the crate or whatever to insulate. And the thing is, you can't line the crate with the insulation. That's going to be like Gonskis. Once that lion or tiger or bear or whatever is in there, they're gonna remove it. But you're right. That's what happens a lot of times with crates, is you get people, the metal ones, banging on them, and that's where labeling and signage, and also crate packing care is when you can darken windows and you do other things with those exotic crates to try and lessen that. And I'll tell you what, the other benefit of knowing your airline people, when I worked at Phoenix Zoo as well as Columbus, I was in there and like, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Gretchen Bickert.
Oh yeah, that's smart. They're smart.
And then they got your back.
Yes. And Greta, as far as the materials that are used, I mean, IATA, LAR will give the standard what should be used. But then also why aren't we a thicker plastic, something like that? I'm sure there's an economic reason behind it. These crates, and I'm learning personally, to design and to manufacture crates or any type of container for animals is not a cheap thing. It's very expensive. And you would imagine if you go through the design and you just make one, that will be entirely expensive. So I'm sure there's a cost factor with some of these things and the choices. It might be cheaper and more just cheaper and more feasible to utilize, let's say, wooden with metal lining or something like that on a crate. So unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. The larval dictate material. Like certain animals, they may say, you can use a very kennel, you can ship in wood, you can ship in this, but then there's others that you must use, follow A, B, C, and D, and then you don't have a choice. I remember we were shipping an anteater, and we had one of our departments build a crate, and it was like the most amazing anteater crate ever. It was going to Spain, but this thing weighed it was so heavy that we couldn't use it because you have your weight limit, especially if you're doing an export.
The airline, depending on if you're doing on a passenger aircraft, Delta will have a certain capacity for the cargo hold, how much weight it can handle. But then your other option could also be a cargo freighter, say, as you say, FedEx. They might be able to handle a larger weight, accommodate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that we did use FedEx quite a lot for, of some larger shipments, Kona Dragon, I remember. And then, any shipments that we would want to accompany, like the lion and the bear that we shipped, which was, pretty exciting.
Oh,
so just a little bit more on the desensitizing and using sounds. So a really great idea. And I found that actually more people are using this with their dogs and cats than I knew. But for zoo animals, what I'm hoping to do is some more research, number one, on grabbing some data on what exactly are our physiological responses that we're seeing in transport as a baseline, because we really don't even have that. And we really need to have that so that when we start doing more experiments, we can obviously see our successes or our failures, or what's working and what's not working. But I love the idea of going in slow with the sounds that these animals are going to be exposed to, right? Because unlike my dog Apple, who I took to the airport numerous times and rode up the elevator and went down to baggage claim, and we got as close as we could to all of these sounds, we weren't able to hey, do you mind if we come and sit on the plane just for a little bit? You can start your net and we'll hop off. That's not possible.
Right.
Although that'd be fantastic. I still was okay, what is going to happen once those engines start rolling? And so for the exotics, why can't you start out slow with your introduction from a distance of these sounds and get them acclimated? They actually did they did a study. I'm just trying to see here in my notes, but they did a study with, I think it was with cows, and showed that animals that were let's see here, livestock. Yeah, a study with livestock. It showed that animals who have prior exposure to certain sounds indeed are less impacted by them, right? So it was in a positive reinforcement, which is all of the important part of it, is making this a positive experience around, what's happening, and getting them more. It's kind of like horses, like police horses. They're bomb proof, literally bomb proof. Stand there and bomb goes off and they're like, oh, can I have a carrot?
Right.
Because they've been desensitized and acclimated, and they're not stressed out. That's, to me, the biggest part is keeping them from getting overstressed. So, as far as getting sounds, there are sound banks out there. You go onto YouTube, and there's a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands on airplanes, apparently, because you have all sorts of this is the plane taking off. Oh, this is the plane landing. And you got a lot of sounds that you can grab for free use, and these are the ones I've started using for my cat. And I'm really glad I did, because the first one that I played was of engines starting, and his ears went flat back and he left the room. And I was like, okay, we have a little work ahead of us. And speaking of that, you always want to make sure when you start to do this that you start low and slow and at a distance. And then slowly bring it in. Like I said, it takes time. You really need to plan this out. And what I have to do, we often planned our shipments months and months ahead. If it was an export or an import, we're talking like a year. And so you had plenty of time to go through those things that you needed to do. And so that's what I'm doing with Harlequin. I'll have to report back to you and see how he does. But, right now, that's our plan, and that's what we're working on.
That's awesome. Just a question someone sent in. I know you're primarily working with zoo animals, but do you have any experience working with horses as far as their transport?
Just a small amount. I mean, I have experience with hoofstock, and then just a little bit of what FedEx, which does a large amount of shipments with raised horses.
I imagine again that's a huge sector. I mean, horses are being transported on a commercial passenger aircraft, but of course for a FedEx or something like that, I'm sure that's how they're getting most of their transport coming here to the U.S. or leaving the country. But that's a huge area that I'm sure needs assistance with sound, music therapy, getting the horses prepared for transport and everything. The individual that commented saying that the welfare of horses during transport is a huge sector. A lot of them can get injured during transport, leading to their euthanasia. So it's something that really needs to happen to help and assist with calming horses during transport.
I couldn't agree with you more. And when you think about like some of these animals that are transported in the trailers, this is an area where actually masking would be fantastic. So masking, rather than desensitizing, it's kind of what Derek does. Derek uses masking to create like a white noise, but using different frequencies that have been shown to create relaxation. And so that, it's used in shelter, use it in shelters and grooming. Why not use it along with transport trailer? Use that to mask some of these road sounds and blend things in so that it's not as disturbing. Because they've shown with dogs and fireworks that if you've got these masked noises on, you may have fireworks going pew, pew, going off, but the dog's like, meh, because the sound isn't so, right in your face. So I would think, you start to install sound systems and speakers in, horse trailers. I absolutely feel like that would be an amazing benefit to their welfare. So, yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention, so it's like so funny because I never really noticed this sound on a plane until my dog reacted. So you guys know like the barking sound when you land, the PTU, the power transfer unit, you go to land and you hear this.
Yes, I've heard it.
Okay. It sounds like barking. And guess who else thinks it sounds like barking? Yeah. So
yeah, I've heard that.
We're whole flight. She puts on. Now, here's something else that's super interesting. A lot of animals can be very disturbed by the constant low level vibrations of truck trailers, and that actually can be a welfare issue. Apple, on the other hand, when she gets on the plane and under the seat, she goes to sleep. Now, I don't know if that's probably a coping mechanism. She's like, okay, I'm out. But she's just like, what? And so for the entire flight, she's just like chill, quiet, even 4 hours. And then as soon as that PTU starts going, she starts barking. So that's also what we're working on now at home is we are playing. Yeah. And the people who have the extra time on their hands, there's lots of recordings of the PTU.
Look, I would say Apple's not alone. That's my coping mechanism too. When I get on the aircraft, I fall asleep immediately before we take off because I used to get sick. So I would just fall asleep I think it's the initial just going into the air. It just gets my stomach. I get sick to my stomach. So my coping mechanism is take a nap. Get on there, go to sleep right now. And it works for me.
Well,
It works for
Napa
me.
would be like, we travel well together.
Yes, mostly.
Yeah.
But no, this is very interesting.
Oh,
Very
cool. I'm so glad. But
What's
yeah,
a PTU?
it's the power transfer unit. It's a hydraulic motor pump.
Yeah, I've heard it.
And it, like when they put the flaps down, I would be lying if I started telling you more. I'd be just making stuff up. So
Right. No, but I've heard a noise that kind of like a little chirping little noise, and I've heard it. I've heard it before.
yeah. Yeah. So, people are like getting up and getting ready to get off. And she's just like, and she's a terrier. She's a small terrier. So her bark is like, okay. All right. Yeah. People are like, let me off the plane. Right. So, but yeah, so we're going to play that sound, and we're going to positively associate and have that not be a thing. Let's hope that it works. Right. So, but yeah, so, to me, that this is where I'm going. I want to look more at sound and how it's affecting animals, whether it's domestics or exotics, in transport. How can we be more sound aware and create shipments that have less noise and less impact? And then also this desensitization that we can build into this. Now, there are some animals that are like, yeah, that's not working for me. It's not helping. So then what we want to do is try and do relaxation training, right? Do cues on when they start to be relaxed, catch them in a relaxed state and positively reinforce that so that they can relax more, on command. Because if they're, more relaxed, and we can keep them at a lower, their thresholds lower. It's kind of like us when this happens and that happens and this happens, and then finally it's like we snap, final straw, I'm done, because we passed our threshold, right? And same with animals, right? Except what they're going to do is they're going to find their way out of the crate, or just have a complete flip out or panic attack. So keeping them relaxed and keeping them calm and keeping them from that space, then the sounds, we've got a larger window of tolerance before they're going to have such a hard time.
Right. Hey, as far as these studies, I haven't found many U.S. universities or veterinary schools being involved with this type of study. In the past, any of the research articles I've read in reference to animal transportation have all been something either in Canada or another country. They've never been based out of the U.S., which makes it difficult because there's really nothing established. And there needs to be research studies on what you're doing, what you're saying. It needs to be present here. We need to be embracing this in the United States, not just outside of the country.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's really interesting that in Europe, a lot of these welfare standards are like head and shoulders above, what we're doing. I've spoken at the ATA conference. I've been involved with them, the Animal Transport Association, for many years, and as well as IPATA and the International Pet Association. Well, obviously, you know what IPATA is, but the partners that are like in Europe, they're like, wait, wow, what? Incredible.
We're so behind. It's really kind of scary to say, but in reference to IATA, all the transportation regulations, we are so far behind in reference to other countries with it. Even something simple as, again, knowing on our commercial market, having compliant crates for pets that are truly airline compliant, not what they say is compliant, but really complies with IATA. Right. That's not common in the U.S. Most pet owners don't understand, even our animal welfare regulations. Pet owners don't understand those regulations for transportation. I mean, I guess it should be more well known. I'll just put it that way.
I agree. Yeah,
it should be more well known that if you're transporting your pet, that the crate that you use, number one, should be compliant with IATA, and then also the appropriate size for your pet. You can't shove the crate that you had when he house trained him, when he was a puppy, and pull it out and think he's going to be, he'll be perfectly fine, and he can't even move. I mean, that simple knowledge, like, gosh, folks, and you love your pet. I know you love your pet. but you should know that some things you shouldn't subject them to in reference to that.
Exactly. And that, that was part of my reason for really championing the creation of that ATA, the course with the AZA, the animal transport, because these things that I thought, doesn't everybody know that? Why? I don't understand. How come you don't? Isn't that intuitive? And it's not. It's like it's an education thing. And you can't like completely fault people. There just needs to be more education. People don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And that's where they come from.
Right.
So got to get the education out there, which is why your your segments with this Pets Fly, these are fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. No, again, that was the purpose behind it, to get the education out. And to be honest with you, we've been focusing more on pet owners at that level, but I really think it needs to go above that level. We need to be at the business level for that information to trickle down.
Yeah.
My fellow veterinarians need to know this and be able to share this with their clients to make sure they're aware of it. And even these companies, like I said, if you're having products on the market that's going to be deemed towards pet travel, make sure it's compliant. Help them. They pet owners want to make the right decisions for their pets. I can't imagine they want to take the wrong decision. But if you falsely advertise something, they don't know. They have no way of knowing. So we need to really work on the pet level with the pet owner, and then at the business level to get that information down, to trickle down to everyone too.
I agree with you 100%, because I think if a pet owner finds something out, their reaction is going to be, why didn't you tell me? I mean, even, before Apple, went on the trip, I wanted to make sure I had all my everything covered. So we went to the vet and I'm like, all right, I need to get, anti-anxiety. I want to have that on board just in case. I need to test it out with her, see how she does. I also had the other pet remedy, the pheromones that I could put into her crate, and, did the whole deal. But never was there a discussion like, now you've been crate training her, right? That never came up. No mention of it was just like, here are your drugs.
Yep, we're quick to do that. And again, a lot of the airlines will tell you that they don't want to transport them because of the sedation that it causes, the medication causes, and that's not healthy for them during transport too. You brought another key point up too, is if you use it, say if you're going in cabin, if you go in cabin and you want to use a sedative for them, try it before you fly. Don't try it the same day, because if it's a medical emergency, Greta, they're always saying that, hey, you never hear them say, is there a veterinarian on the aircraft that assists? They never say that. So you're on your own. If something happens with your pet, you need to be aware that they're in cabin. So key things they need to realize and get prepared. You'd be amazed. A lot of my fellow veterinarians, even with the documentation that's required for transport, they're not accredited, USDA accredited, so they're not familiar. And oh my goodness, it could be a nightmare in reference to that. So a lot of education really needs to be shared, again, from top down, to get to the pet owner, to make sure they know what to do, how to prepare their pet. So in the end, the animal gets to their destination safely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been great. I mean, what I would like to really add, and this is like sort of my mantra, is to let the animal lead and see from their point of view, because they're going to really guide you. If we're observant of their behavior, especially when we're desensitizing and getting them, what are their reactions? How are they feeling? Are they showing stress? Right. And let them guide like your training and acclimating and getting through, because you're right. We don't want to use, medication. And even if you have to, you test it out, and then it's only there truly to take like the edge off. It's not to sedate them, because traveling with the sedate animals, that's not safe. And an animal could it could work against you, because then they're going to panic, because they're not able to like right themselves, all that whole kind of thing. So,
right. Oh, perfect.
Let me ask you this. So I know that you're doing experiments and everything to get everything together, but is there a resource you can share or provide that so that other people can also start to acclimate their pets or even zoo animals to sound?
I can actually just come up with like a PDF, and it's like, okay, it's simple to do. It just takes time and patience. But yeah, I can come up with a one-page PDF, and we can post it out on the page and just talk a little bit about desensitizing and threshold, and then how you can add in some counter conditioning. And counter conditioning is just basically, now something that was scary is not. It's actually like awesome. And so that's super important. But yeah, I can do that for you. That would be no problem.
That would be great. Thanks, Gretchen. That'd be great.
I'm so excited to share this.
What I'd like to do after each live is, so I'll create like a flyer that kind of covers tips from today, but I'll put on there if you want more information about, getting your pet or zoo animal acclimated to sound. Email us and we'll send you the PDF that you create.
That sounds fabulous. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
I love that. It's awesome.
Right. Well, we are coming to a close. Anything further you want to share with us, Gretchen? Because I think it's amazing what you're doing. Any speaking engages, anything we need to know what you're doing in the future? Let us know.
Well, I was invited to go to Croatia to speak at the ATA conference, and that kind of like, shifted, and I won't be going, but
well, I was invited too, but I'm kind of the same. I don't think it's going to work either. Yeah.
Same here. Well, we would have been like, hey, no, what's up? Yeah. Next year, perhaps we can
next year.
That would be great. And by the way, I was at the USDA symposium.
Were you there, or I
was virtual. Yeah,
that's what it was. That's why I didn't get you face to face.
Yeah, okay. And I was asking a lot of questions and super interactive. And I hope you guys do that again, because that was incredible. So many resources came out of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It was brilliant.
I hope so too. I will share that also with my colleagues there within USDA. Do it again, please. That was a great symposium. Really good.
Yeah. And so I've been doing some talks with ZAA, and I'm going to do a webinar with ATA in lieu of my presentation with them. But just, carrying on. Oh, you know what I wanted to add? It was so interesting that I came across. Did you guys know there are, like, you probably do, but ear headphones for dogs? They're called mutt muffs.
Mutt muffs.
Yeah. And so if you could, like, get your dog used to those, I mean, then that's where Derek's work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Derek. And you just mask, and they're like, la la da, that's how they travel. I mean,
there'll be noise canceling and all these other technologies they'll put in there. It's like a person with just headphones on, and they're just relaxing.
A little maybe motivation, you are a good sniffer.
Good dog.
Good dog, right?
Right. What are you saying, Greta?
What are they called?
They're called mutt muffs. Muffs.
Okay.
Yeah. There's actually like two different models. I can't remember. The second model is actually better because it kind of fits over the head, because I can see a dog with these ones going,
Right.
My cat's over in there going, no.
No. Trust me, in time, the technology they'll have, we have some earbuds in place. Put my earbuds in my something for the dogs. It'd be amazing. Or dogs or cats. It'd be amazing.
It'll be awesome. Okay.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I am so happy you came here, Gretchen. Really shared some great information with us about what you're doing, and very valuable information. So thank you. We will definitely be in touch. Greta, please, whatever information that you love to share with us, Gretchen, maybe we could put it on our website or something. But I think that's awesome to try to just desensitization. We haven't really thought of that much. We've thinking, sound therapy, yes, but they do need to be desensitized to the sounds that they're listening, they hear.
Yeah, absolutely. So very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you again
That's great.
for having me here.
Thank you, Gretchen. Well, everyone, this was another Facebook Live with Gretchen Bickert. We will share some information on our social media about desensitizing animals and help them travel. And we look forward to seeing you at the next Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant.
Yep.
Do you have any last words to say, Dr. Bryant?
No, thank you so much. Hold on, Gretchen. We'll sign off and hold on. We'll talk a little bit further. But thank you, everyone, for listening. And I hope you found the whole session valuable and keep listening for further information. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You click it.
I pushed end stream. I don't see anything happening.
It's nothing yet. It's still going.